I don't know where to start from. If you're looking at getting into track riding, or you just want that full-on race feel on the road, then choosing the right helmet is a completely different ballgame compared to your everyday lid. I'm Jamie from Moto Central, and today we're going to run through some of the best race-focused helmets you can buy right now. When you step into this category, the priorities change quite a bit. You're looking for stability at speed, especially when you're tucked in. You need a wide field of vision so you can actually see what's going on around you on the track, and airflow becomes absolutely key because these things get hot fast. Safety is right at the top of the list as well. If you're pushing harder, you want a helmet that's built to deal with that kind of impact. But the trade-off is this. You lose a lot of the everyday comforts. You won't typically get things like drop-down sun visors, quick-release buckles, or loads of noise reduction. These are built to perform, not to commute. Some of them aren't even that friendly when it comes to fitting intercoms either. Now, it's worth saying, you don't need one of these top-end race lids to go on track. As long as your helmet meets the required standards, you're good to go. But what we're looking at today is the top tier. The helmet's designed with racing as the priority from the ground up. We've had hands-on experience with all of these, fitting them in store, speaking to customers, and seeing how they perform in the real world. Now in front of me, we've got 5 of the biggest names in this category: AGV, Shoei, Alpinestars, Nolan, and Arai. So if there's a specific one you're interested in, you can use the timestamps in the description to jump straight onto it. And if you're into this kind of content, make sure you hit like and subscribe. It really helps us out and lets us keep doing more of these. So let's get straight into it. So first up, we've got the Arai RX-7V Evo. And the colour we've got here is the Nakagami GP3. If you want to check this helmet out properly, I'll put a link up the top left now. You can jump straight through to the product page on our website. Now the RX-7 name, this is one of those helmets that's just always been around. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and even before my time, the RX-7 was already Arai's top tier race lid. It's basically the backbone of their entire range, and this is the latest version of that. Now I'll be honest, I'm an Arai man. My first Arai was an RX-7 Corsair when I was about 17. So yeah, I'm showing my age a little bit there. I've been around these for a long time. So if a bit of bias creeps into this video, I apologise in advance. But there is a reason for that. One thing Arai haven't done, and this is very intentional, is completely redesign the shape. If you look at RX-7s going back years, even decades, the profile is very similar. That's because Arai firmly believe that a round, smooth shell is the safest way to manage impact. That ties into their whole glancing off philosophy. Instead of just absorbing energy, the idea is to deflect it wherever possible. Reduce what actually gets transferred into the helmet in the first place. And that's why they won't chase sharp angles or aggressive styling if it compromises that. The shell itself is their PB SNC2 construction. So you've got layered composite fibres with a structural net running through it, plus reinforcement inspired by things like Formula 1. It's properly high-end in terms of how it's built. Now in terms of weight, on paper, it's not the lightest helmet in this category. But when you actually put it on, it doesn't feel heavy at all. The balance is really good, and that's what makes the difference on the bike. Fit-wise, it's classic Arai. Quite snug, very secure, and it really holds your head in place, which is exactly what you want when you're riding hard on the track. Ventilation is strong as well. You've got multiple intake and exhaust vents, a proper rear diffuser, and the air wing on the back. Now worth mentioning with that, if you're doing proper high-speed track riding, the rear spoiler does make a difference. Without it, it's still very stable, but once you start pushing on, especially in a full tuck, adding that spoiler helps settle the helmet down a bit more. The good thing is, it comes in the box, so you've got that option. Vision is excellent as well, especially upwards, which is something a lot of people don't think about until they're actually on track. It's fully ECE 2206 approved, so it meets the latest safety standard. But if you're doing top level competition, there's also a separate FIM version of this helmet, So just be aware of that depending on what you need it for. Feature-wise, it's got everything you'd expect at this level. Pin lock included, removable and adjustable interior, emergency release system. But again, it's all focused on performance rather than convenience. And like all Arais, there's a huge range of colours and graphics. This Nakagami one is a great example. Proper MotoGP inspired design. So yeah, this is one of those helmets where the reputation actually means something. It's been developed over decades, refined rather than reinvented. And it's still one of the go-to choices for riders who want proper race kit. Next up, we've got the Shoei X-SPR Pro. And the colour we've got here is the Marquez Motegi 5 TC1. If you want to check this one out in more detail, I'll put the link up in the top left now, and you can head straight through to the product page on our website. Now, Shoei have been at the top of this category for years, and the X-SPR Pro is the direct successor to the old X-Spirit range. And if you've been around bikes for a while, you'll know that range was always going head-to-head with the Arai RX-7. It's been Arai versus Shoei for as long as I can remember. For a long time, especially here in the UK, Arai probably had the edge. That was the go-to race helmet for a lot of riders. But over the last 10 years or so, things have shifted quite a bit. Shoei have really pushed forward, and now in a general sense, they dominate the helmet market. And this helmet is a big part of that. This is one of the first helmets to meet the ECE 2206 standard, and it's also FIM approved. So straight away, you know this is built for proper track use at the highest level. And that really shows when you're riding in it. Stability is a big strong point here. The shape of the shell, the rear stabiliser, and all the aero work that's gone into this, it's designed to stay planted, especially when you're tucked in or braking hard from speed. Ventilation is also right up there. You've got multiple intake vents, exhausts, and even cheek vents pulling air through the helmet. When you're riding hard, you can really feel the airflow doing its job. Vision is excellent as well. Nice wide field of view. And the visor system itself is really thought out. You've got a solid locking mechanism, and it also works well in that slightly cracked open position if you want a bit of extra airflow without fully opening it. Now, one area where Shoei really stands out is the fit and adjustability. Out of the box, it's already a great fit, but you can fine tune it quite a bit. Different cheek pad sizes, adjustable centre pads, and even the option to tweak how the helmet sits on your head slightly. So if you're someone who struggles to get a perfect fit, this gives you a bit more flexibility. Weight-wise, it's also strong in this category. It's not ultra light on paper, but again, like the Arai, it carries its weight really well once it's on your head. Build quality is exactly what you'd expect from Shoei as well. These are handmade in Japan, and every helmet goes through a huge amount of quality control before it leaves the factory. It's one of the reasons the brand has the reputation it does. And of course, with something like this, it's not just a road helmet made to look sporty, this is a proper race lid. It's been developed with that input from riders at the very top level, including people like Marc Marquez. So everything about it is geared towards performance. Like the Arai, you've still got the essentials. Pin lock included, fully removable interior, emergency release system. But again, it's all focused around riding hard rather than everyday convenience. So if you're looking for something that feels a little bit more aggressive, a bit more aerodynamic, and really stable at speed, the X-SPR Pro is a serious bit of kit. And actually, quick one, if you're enjoying this kind of content, make sure you hit like and subscribe. It really helps us out and lets us keep doing more of these. Next up, we've got the Alpinestars R10. If you want to take a closer look at this one, I'll put a link up the top left now. You can jump straight through it onto our website. Now, this is one of the newest helmets in this category, and it definitely looks it. Very aggressive design, loads of aerodynamic work, and it's been developed heavily with MotoGP input. But what makes this one really interesting is where it's from. Alpinestars is one of the biggest brands in motorcycling, and honestly, it goes beyond just bikes at this point. Everyone knows them. Suits, gloves, boots. They've been at the top of that side of the industry for years. But when they first said they were bringing out a top racing helmet, A lot of people weren't convinced. There was definitely a feeling of stick to what you know. And to be fair, they've completely proved everyone wrong with this. This isn't a mid-range attempt or a first step into helmets. This is them going straight in at a top end and taking on the established names properly. And you can see that in this product. Weight-wise, on paper, it's not the lightest. But once it's on your head and you're riding, it carries that weight really well. It doesn't feel heavy in use. Ventilation is serious as well. Even with the vents closed, there's a lot of air moving through the helmet. On track, that's exactly what you want. On the road, it might be a bit much for some people, especially at lower speeds. The visor system is also very race focused. You've got a really wide field of view, one of the widest here, but the locking mechanism is quite mechanical. It works well, but it's not as quick or as intuitive as some like a Shoei if you're constantly opening and closing it on the road. Now, one of the standout features is the level of adjustability. You've got Alpinestars A-head fitment system, which actually lets you fine-tune how the helmet sits. Not just the padding, but the position and angle on your head. So you can really dial into it for a proper race fit. You also get a lot out of the box with this. Different spoilers depending on whether you're riding on road or track, multiple visors, tear-offs, pin lock. It very much has a full race package. But this is the key thing with the R10. This is a race helmet first and a road helmet second. It's not trying to be the most comfortable thing for commuting or long distance riding. It's built for performance, speed and track use. So if that's what you're after, something that feels cutting edge, looks aggressive and is designed with modern racing in mind, this is a seriously impressive bit of kit. And actually, I'm curious on this one. Let me know in the comments. Would you pick something like this, or are you still leaning more towards Arai and Shoei? I always find that the split is really interesting. Next up, we've got something a bit different. This is the Nolan X804 RS Ultra Carbon. And the colour we've got here is the Oreo Carbon Gold. I hope I said that right. If you want to check this one out in more detail, I'll put a link at the top left now, and you can head straight through to the product page on our website. Now, Nolan might not always be the first name people think of when it comes to top-end race helmets, but make no mistake, this is a seriously established brand. They're one of the biggest helmet manufacturers in the world. They produce brands like Grex and X-Lite, and they're now part of the same group as Shark. So this isn't a newcomer. They've got a real history behind them. They've also been used at the highest level. Riders like Casey Stoner and Carlos Checa have worn Nolan. So they've got proper racing pedigree as well. And this helmet really shows what they're capable of. Straight away, you can see the focus here, the full carbon shell. Aggressive shape, big rear spoiler. It looks every bit like a modern race helmet. And especially in these exposed carbon colorways, it looks absolutely spot on. But it's not just about the looks. There's a lot going underneath the surface as well. Aerodynamically, it's been properly developed for track use. That rear spoiler, which is removable, has been designed through wind tunnel testing and CFD to improve stability, especially when you're tucked in. And the shape works really well with that typical race position, lining up with the hump on your suit. Ventilation is strong as well. Nolan call it their racing airflow system, and it's designed to keep air moving through the helmet when you're riding hard. So again, very much aimed at track conditions rather than slow speed road riding. One thing I really like with this helmet is the adjustability. You've got their liner adjustment system, which lets you fine tune how the helmet fits your head shape. And it also works really well if you wear glasses. There's actually space built into the cheek pads to accommodate them, which is something a lot of race helmets just don't think about. The interior itself is also quite premium. It uses active carbon materials, so it's designed to help the moisture temperature regulation, and it keeps things comfortable when you're riding hard. In terms of safety, it's ECE 2206 approved, double D-rings as you'd expect, and it's got Nolan's emergency release system built in to the cheek pads. The visor system is also worth mentioning. It's got proper locking mechanisms to stop it opening unexpectedly, and you can still set it slightly cracked open for demisting, which is a nice practical touch. Vision overall is really good as well. Wide field of view, both horizontally and vertically, which again is what you want on track. This feels like Nolan putting everything they know into a proper flagship race helmet. Loads of tech, loads of adjustability, and a strong focus on comfort as well as performance. So if you're looking for something a bit different, something that still gives you that full race spec, but maybe with a bit more flexibility in fitting features, this is definitely one to have a look at. And finally, we've got the AGV Pista GP RR. If you want to take a closer look at this one, again, I'll put a link at the top left now. You can jump straight through to the product page on our website. Now this sits right at the sharp end of what's available. AGV have been doing this for a long time, but when they moved away from the GP tech and introduced the original Pista, it really shook things up. It was one of the first helmets to properly challenge what was already established at the top of the market. And now, interestingly, it's almost part of that established group itself. This is the evolution of that helmet, and it's been developed directly from racing, with input from riders like Valentino Rossi. This thing started life on track before it even became a production helmet, and you can feel that straight away. The shell is full carbon fibre, extremely lightweight, and designed for maximum stability when you're tucked in. That rear spoiler plays a big role here as well, keeping everything planted when you're riding hard. Aerodynamically, it's very focused. Minimal drag, very stable, and it feels incredibly precise on the bike. Weight is also one of the strong points. It's one of the lighter helmets in this group, and you'll really notice that when you're moving around on the bike. Ventilation is exactly what you'd expect from something at this level. Loads of airflow, designed to keep you cool in full race conditions. But this is the key thing. This is a proper race helmet. You can use it on the road. It's ECU 2206 approved, but it's loud. It's very ventilated, and comfort isn't a priority at all here. It's built for performance first and foremost. Fit is tight and very secure. The vision is excellent, especially in the tuck, and the visor system is a full race spec one with pinlock and tear-off compatibility. You've also got things like the collarbone protection profile, emergency release system, and a design that helps manage rotational forces in a crash. And even now, with more competition than there's ever been in this space, this still feels aggressive, still feels focused, and absolutely deserves a place in our top 5. So there you go. That's our top picks when it comes to race and track focus helmets. Now, like we said at the start, these aren't just for racing. Every helmet here is road legal, ECE 2206 approved, and you can use them on the road. But realistically, these are built with track riding in mind. And it's also worth saying, you don't need to spend this kind of money to go on the track. As long as your helmet meets the required standards, you're good to go. But what we've looked at here is the top end, the best of the best when it comes to performance. And honestly, every single helmet here is ridiculously good. There isn't a weak option in the list. They're all top tier, all built for serious riding, and all capable of doing exactly what we'd want them to do. Now, just to make things a bit easier, I'll throw in a comparison up on the screen now so you can see how they all stack up side by side. You've got things like weight, approvals, fit, adjustability, and really where each helmet sits, whether it's more road friendly or fully track focused. So depending on what you're prioritizing, that should help you narrow things down pretty quickly. Now, if we're being completely honest, looking at everything here, and this is based on customer feedback, what we sell every day, and what the whole team here tends to lean towards, Shoei probably just edges it overall. It's the one that ticks the most boxes for the most people. The fit adjustability, the stability, the usability, it just works for a lot of riders. But me personally, and I'll be honest about it, I've always been an Arai man. Arai man. Arai man. And since it's me doing the video, I'm giving Arai the win. Not because the others aren't good, because they are. Every helmet here is seriously impressive, but the RX-7, it's just one of those helmets. It stood the test of time, it's refined rather than reinvented, and it still does exactly what top-end race helmets should do. But honestly, you wouldn't be making a bad choice with any of these. It really comes down to what fits you best, what feels right on your head, and how you actually ride. If you can, try them on. That's always the biggest thing. If you want to check any of these helmets out properly, links will be on screen and down in the description. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. If you've used any of these helmets yourself, let us know your experience as well. It always helps other riders out. And as always, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Ride safe, and we'll see you in the next one.